There are invisible forces that repeat themselves in families, like an echo that crosses centuries, diseases that return, failures that repeat, pains that seem to be born with the blood. Paramahansa Yogananda called this familial karmic currents and warned, as long as the soul doesn't awaken, it continues to carry burdens that are not its own, but belong to those who came before. Have you noticed how certain patterns repeat themselves in your lineage? Loves that end the same way, losses that happen at the same point in life, blockages that seem hereditary. This is not chance, it's the reflection of a generational curse, an energetic bond that ties your story to a destiny that no longer belongs to you. But what few know is that there is a way to break this cycle. Yogananda revealed that liberation doesn't come with anger or flight, but with vibrational consciousness. When the soul understands its mission and transmutes what it inherited, the entire genealogical tree is purified, backward and forward. Prepare yourself, because what you will learn today is a powerful spiritual technique capable of dissolving the invisible chains that imprison generations. And when you apply this teaching, you will perceive your family's story may have begun with pain, but it will end with liberation through you. Families don't form by chance, my friend. They are ancestral meetings of souls that travel together through the ages, united by invisible threads woven on the loom of karma. When you are born into a certain lineage, you're not just inheriting physical characteristics or personality traits. You're entering a specific spiritual school, a training ground of consciousness, where certain lessons need to be learned, certain patterns need to be transmuted, certain karmic debts need to be settled, not with suffering, but with awakening. Think of your family as a river that has been flowing for generations. The river is not evil. But if someone, way back, threw poison into the waters, this poison will continue flowing downstream until someone, at some point in the river, decides to purify it. You didn't choose to be born with already contaminated waters, but you did choose, yes, your soul chose even before being born, to be the one who would have the courage and spiritual strength to clean these waters, so that all who come after can drink from a crystalline source. There was once a young man who grew up in a family of dishonest merchants, where lying was considered cleverness and deceiving. Others was seen as business skill. Generation after generation, this consciousness of dishonesty perpetuated itself, bringing temporary prosperity followed by inevitable ruin, a cycle that repeated like the seasons of the year. This young man, upon awakening spiritually, realized he didn't need to continue the pattern and began to conduct his business with absolute truth, even when it meant losing money. At first, he suffered losses and was ridiculed by his own family members. But gradually, something extraordinary happened. Not only did his life prosper in a sustainable way, but his own parents, seeing the result of integrity, began to question their old habits, and that young man became the transmutation point of the entire lineage. So, look at the patterns that repeat in your family, the uncontrolled anger, the fear of scarcity, the destructive relationships, the recurring diseases, and understand that they are not divine punishments, but simply unlearned lessons, stagnant energy asking for movement, dormant consciousness asking for awakening. When you decide, here and now, that you will not unconsciously repeat what hurt you, you're initiating the most sacred revolution that exists, the interior revolution that precedes all exterior liberation. Affirm with me, I am the point where the past ends and the luminous future begins. I am not my family's story. I am the eternal spirit that transcends and redeems it. Karma is not a system of cosmic punishment, but a principle of spiritual education. It is the law of cause and effect operating through time, teaching the soul until it learns to create only harmonious causes. And here's what almost no one dares to consider. Karma doesn't operate only individually, but also collectively, crossing entire generations like a tide that rises and falls on the shore of existence. Imagine familial karma as an emotional debt that passes from generation to generation, not because God is a cruel collector, but because the very nature of consciousness demands balance. If your great-grandfather lived in constant anger, this anger created a vibratory pattern, a frequency of consciousness that was imprinted on the family's energetic field. And this frequency tends to manifest again in descendants until someone, through awakened consciousness, transmutes that anger into love, that violence into peace, that shadow into light. There's an ancient story from the masters of India about a king who, in his arrogance, cursed a sage who asked him for alms. The sage, impassive, only said, "Majesty, the chain that begins in you today will not end in you." And so it was. The king suffered in old age, his children suffered in diseases, his grandchildren suffered in wars, until one of his great-grandchildren, seeking spiritual truth, found a master and asked why his family carried so much suffering. The master responded, "Because 4 generations ago, someone chose arrogance instead of humility, and you continued unconsciously choosing the same path. But you, by seeking truth, are choosing differently. And this choice doesn't liberate only you, but the entire lineage." The great-grandson dedicated himself to spiritual practice. And gradually, the family afflictions began to dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Understand then that when you meditate, when you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, when you respond with patience where your ancestors responded with anger, you are not just evolving personally, you are acting as redeemer of your entire clan, purifying ancestral waters, cutting karmic threads that bound entire generations. The ancient Hindus taught that a soul that attains liberation liberates 7 generations backward and 7 generations forward. Do you perceive the sacred magnitude of this? Your personal transformation is not a selfish luxury. It is the highest service you can render to your family and to humanity. Declare with conviction, "I am the link that transforms chains into light. My awakened consciousness is the blessing that heals the past and illuminates the future." Now we arrive at a territory that demands absolute courage from those who dare to walk it. The recognition that what most bothers, irritates, or saddens you about your family members is precisely what your soul came to heal in yourself. This is a truth that burns like purifying fire, but it is also the truth that liberates. Because as long as you believe the problem is only out there in others, you remain prisoner of the illusion of separation. The ancient alchemists spoke of transforming lead into gold, but what few understood is that this alchemy was not chemical, but psychic. It was about transforming the heavy qualities of consciousness, anger, fear, greed, pride, into luminous qualities, love, courage, generosity, humility. And family is the perfect laboratory for this alchemy, because it is in family living that our deepest shadows are mirrored back to us with implacable clarity. I once knew a woman who deeply despised her father's stinginess, a man who counted every penny and rarely demonstrated generosity. She swore to be completely different from him, took pride in her material generosity. But, and here's the point almost no one dares to consider, although she was generous with money, she was absolutely stingy with affection, with words of tenderness, with quality time. The same energy of scarcity she criticized in her father manifested in her in a different way, but equally limiting. Only when she recognized this mirrored shadow, only when she admitted, but I also carry scarcity, just in another currency, could she begin true transformation. So, do this exercise of profound honesty now. Identify the family pattern that most disturbs you, whether it's emotional coldness, explosiveness, constant victimization, excessive materialism, chemical or emotional dependency. Identify it clearly. Now breathe deeply and ask with radical sincerity, in what way, even if subtle, even if disguised, even if I don't want to admit it, does this same pattern manifest in me? The answer may not come immediately. It may come in dreams, in synchronicities, in moments of quietude, but it will come, because the soul always responds when we ask genuine questions. And when the answer comes, don't blame yourself. Don't feel ashamed. Simply acknowledge and say, I see this shadow in me, I recognize it, I accept it, and now I consciously choose to transform it into light through my daily spiritual practice. This is true power, not the power to deny the shadow, but the power to transmute it. Now that we understand the nature of familial karma and recognize our own inherited shadows, the moment has come to learn the concrete practice that can break these patterns, because spiritual knowledge without practice is like a seed that is never planted, full of potential but eternally fruitless. This practice I will share with you is not a magical ritual that will work by itself while you remain passive. It is a technique of spiritual concentration that works through the power of your own focused consciousness, your own sincere devotion, your own commitment to transformation. The practice is simple in its structure, but profound in its effects when performed with regularity and devotional intensity. Find a moment of the day where you can be completely alone and without interruptions. It can be at dawn, when the world still sleeps and the energy is purer, or at night before sleeping, when the day quiets down. Sit in upright but comfortable posture, close your eyes and breathe deeply and slowly for a few minutes, allowing your body to calm and your mind to quiet like a lake without waves. When you feel you have reached a state of relative inner calm, visualize in your heart a golden flame, small at first, but vibrant and pure, and observe this flame growing with each breath, becoming brighter, more intense, more radiant. Now, and this is the crucial point of the practice, imagine a line of light emerging from this flame in your heart and connecting to the heart of your mother, your father, your grandparents, all your known and unknown ancestors, forming a luminous chain that extends through time to the most remote origins of your lineage. See this light flowing through this chain, entering the heart of each ancestor, dissolving pain, transmuting suffering, purifying distorted patterns, bringing peace where there was agony, love where there was fear, light where there was darkness. And while maintaining this visualization, repeat mentally, with all the force of your conviction, I thank each one of you for the learning you brought. I forgive all the suffering you transmitted. And now I free all of us from this chain of pain. May the divine light purify us, heal us, liberate us. Remain in this practice for at least 10 minutes daily and observe how gradually your reactions to family members begin to change, how old hurts lose their emotional charge, how new relationship patterns become possible. There is a sacred moment in the spiritual journey of every sincere seeker, a moment when he understands that he is not seeking liberation only for himself, but to serve as an instrument of liberation for all. And when this understanding matures in your heart, when you perceive that your personal transformation is, in reality, a transpersonal mission, everything changes. Spiritual practice ceases to be a burden and becomes a privilege. Inner work ceases to be an effort and becomes an offering of love. You see, when you elevate yourself in consciousness, you don't elevate alone. You elevate all those who are connected to you by ties of blood, affection, karma. It's as if you were a mountaineer climbing a mountain tied to others by a rope. Every meter you climb, you pull all the others a little higher too. But what if you give up? What if you remain stagnant in old patterns? Then, not only do you stay stuck in the same place, but you keep all the others stuck too. This is the tremendous responsibility and the tremendous power you carry. There is a Zen parable about a monk who meditated deeply at night, and his neighbors came to complain about the glow emanating from his window, saying they couldn't sleep. The monk, confused, didn't understand. He didn't light any lamp during his meditations. Until a visiting master explained, when you meditate deeply, your consciousness emits spiritual light that penetrates walls and illuminates everything around. Your neighbors don't see it with physical eyes, but their souls perceive it and become restless, because this light exposes their own darkness. The monk then understood that his practice was not only personal, but affected the entire environment around him. In the same way, when you practice meditation, when you choose to respond with love in situations where you would have previously responded with anger, when you forgive where your ancestors would hold resentment, when you act with generosity where your family acted with stinginess, you are emitting a new vibratory frequency that impacts your entire lineage, both those who have already departed and those who will still come. You become a point of light in ancestral darkness, a lighthouse that guides others out of the fog of repetitive suffering. Accept this sacred mission with humility and determination, saying, "May my life be an offering of healing for my entire lineage. May each pure thought, each loving action, each moment of awakened consciousness serve as blessing for all those who came before me and all those who will come after." And now we arrive at the great mystery, at the complete inversion of perspective that transforms all suffering into meaning, all difficulty into purpose. What you always called curse was, from the beginning, your most sacred spiritual mission, only disguised under the veil of pain. Think about this deeply. Why were you born in exactly this family and not another? Why do you carry exactly these patterns and not others? Why these specific difficulties and not others? The superficial view would say, bad luck, chance, divine punishment. But the deep spiritual view reveals that there are no accidents in the soul's journey. You were born where you were born because you had exactly the strength necessary to transform those specific patterns. You carry what you carry because your soul, in its infinite wisdom, chose exactly this challenge as your vehicle of growth and service. Imagine a master blacksmith who has never worked with common iron, only with silver and gold. When they bring him a piece of raw iron, black and misshapen, he doesn't reject it with disgust, but his eyes shine with enthusiasm because he sees not what the iron is, but what it can become. A magnificent sword, a useful tool, a work of art. In the same way, your soul, before being born, saw not the raw suffering of your lineage, but the potential for transformation, the opportunity for spiritual alchemy, the chance to become an instrument of redemption. There was a disciple who constantly lamented to his master about his family's defects. "Master, why was I born among people so difficult, so unconscious, so problematic?" And the master responded with a question, "If a doctor is born in a village where everyone is healthy, what is the purpose of his gift? Isn't it exactly where there is disease that the healer is most needed?" The disciple fell silent and then understood. He hadn't been born despite the family difficulties, but precisely because of them, to be the healer that lineage so needed. So, change your perspective right now. Look at your family's difficult patterns not as heavy crosses you were forced to carry, but as sacred opportunities your soul chose to demonstrate its power of transformation. The familial anger is your opportunity to manifest profound peace. The ancestral scarcity is your chance to radiate abundance. The inherited fear is your invitation to embody unshakable courage. When you understand this truly, not just intellectually, but at the core of your being, something miraculous happens. Resistance ceases, victimization dissolves, and in its place emerges a sense of sacred purpose that transforms each challenge into fuel for your spiritual growth. But how, you may ask, do we transform all this elevated understanding into reality lived day to day? How do we take this spiritual consciousness into difficult conversations at the dinner table, into family gatherings loaded with tension, into relationships where old patterns press to repeat themselves? The answer lies in something the masters call compassionate vigilance, a constant and loving attention to your own internal states, a serene observation of your automatic reactions before they transform into actions, a conscious pause between external stimulus and your response. Because you see, family patterns don't break in great dramatic moments, but in small, everyday choices repeated 1,000 times. Imagine the scene. Your father says something critical that would normally make you explode in anger or withdraw into silent hurt. This is the old pattern, repeated perhaps for generations. But now, armed with spiritual consciousness, you perceive the reaction arising in you like a wave, and instead of being dragged by it, you breathe, you observe, you recognize. Here is the old pattern wanting to repeat itself through me. And then, consciously and deliberately, you choose to respond differently, perhaps with serene silence, perhaps with a gentle word, perhaps simply changing the subject. And in that moment, in that small moment that seems insignificant, you have just broken a link in the ancestral chain. Once, a man came to me saying he couldn't forgive his mother for years of emotional neglect. He understood intellectually all the teachings about forgiveness and liberation, but the resentment remained like a stone in his heart. I told him, you don't need to feel forgiveness immediately. You just need to act as if you had already forgiven, even if the heart still hurts. When she calls, answer with kindness. When you visit her, bring flowers. When she speaks, listen with attention, not because you feel like it, but because you choose to plant the seeds of forgiveness through conscious actions. He followed the advice with discipline and told me months later, with tears in his eyes, I don't know at what exact moment it happened, but one day I realized the resentment had disappeared. It dissolved little by little, diluted by the repeated choices to act with love. This is the practical path of liberation, not waiting to feel different to act different, but acting different until feelings align with actions. Every time you choose compassion, where your ancestors chose judgment, every time you offer loving presence where they offered cold absence, every time you respond with consciousness where they responded with automatism, you are living liberation. You are being the change that heals generations. And remember, no one is asking for perfection. We're talking about direction. You will stumble, repeat old patterns sometimes, but if your intention is clear and your practice is consistent, the general movement of your life will be upward, toward the light. And so, beloved seeker of truth, we arrive at the end of this journey of understanding, but at the real beginning of your journey of transformation. Because everything that was said here is nothing but empty words if it is not lived, embodied, practiced until it becomes the very substance of your being. You now know that you are not a victim of ancestral patterns, but the liberator chosen by the soul itself to break cycles and inaugurate a new era of consciousness in your lineage. You understood that the so-called curse was actually a sacred calling, an invitation to demonstrate the power of awakened consciousness over the weight of dormant karma. And you received concrete practices, not abstract theories, but real tools that, if applied with devotion and constancy, will transform not only your individual life, but the entire trajectory of your family through generations. May each thought of love you cultivate be like a drop of dew that cleans ancestral waters. May each act of consciousness you practice be like a ray of sun that dissipates the mists of the past. May your entire life become a living testimony that grace is infinitely more powerful than destiny. Texto pa that the light of the awakened soul cannot be contained by any inherited shadow. That you, yes you, who are hearing these words now, are the sacred point where the past ends and the luminous future begins. Rosos. The ancestral tree blossoms again through you. May its roots be nourished by your love. May its trunk be strengthened by your consciousness, and may its fruits be peace and liberation for all. And now, if these words touched your heart, if something in you recognized the truth of what was shared here, don't allow this energy to dissipate. Fix it through action. Leave your like on this video as a gesture of commitment to yourself, as a declaration that yes, you choose to be the point of liberation of your lineage. Subscribe to this channel to continue receiving teachings that nourish your spiritual journey and deepen your practice of conscious transformation. Share this message with those who also carry the weight of difficult family patterns, because by sharing light, you multiply it. And leave in the comments, if you feel moved to do so, the words, "I am the point of liberation of my clan," not as mere mechanical repetition, but as conscious affirmation, as spiritual decree that activates in you the power to become exactly what you declare. And in doing so, know that you are not alone in this journey. We are thousands of awakened souls around the world, each one breaking the chains in their own lineage, each one bringing more light to this plane of existence.